So everyone take a breath, and we're going to be having Sethikus on air answering questions. We have about 40 minutes left in the show, so we are going to be taking callers. So, Robert, as soon as Seth is on, bring him on, and I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions from the chat room. We've got a lot of people saying thank you for this. So, Traveling Busboy, self-created illusion, step out with courage and authentic expression, laugh in the face of death, ride the alchemical dragon of ultimate good, conversations with the storms of resolution. Thank you, Traveling Busboy. That was outstanding. Now we're going to up the game a little. Process and integrate what you have just heard. One of the reasons I brought Seth on is because he's potent with power, present within his body, and capable of understanding multidimensionality. This is the essence of what we are trying to pass on to you, the listeners, so you may discover the nature of self-illumination. So come on, engage that super genius and put in a question that's going to challenge both Seth and myself. We have Seth. Seth, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How's it going, man?
Great. So, Seth, we had a really incredible interview.
Yeah, it was potent, man. And there's some people in the chat that are saying that it was pre-recorded. Yeah, it was pre-recorded.
This is called preparing for an audience. It's what professionals do. We are not two cowboys from internet podcast land. We are professionals at what we do. And professionals prepare presentations like you just saw. So instead of going the script, we went through a flow, an organized flow that allowed both of us to do what? Be our authentic self. That is what we are trying to pass on, the intention of understanding the illusion and delusion we live in. So Seth, let's talk about commitment and courage again, and how those two are so misunderstood.
Okay, well, all people are going to have to do is go back and listen to what was said. I mean, I'm not sure what you want to get into now. Expounding upon that. I mean, if people have questions.
Yeah, we're going to take callers in just a second. Commitment is that ability to say, I'm going to follow through and do something. And the courage of commitment is long term. What it takes to really go through the processes and changes that are there. And this is one of the things that so many people are held up on.
Right, and if anybody's going to come on to the authentic path of initiation, I'll say, you're going to have to see it all the way through. Because a lot of people, unfortunately, they give up. They give up right in the beginning when things seem hardest. You know what I'm saying? But this is why encouragement and empowerment is so important. A lot of what I see going on in network is people talking shit to one another. Self-righteous, thinking that they're right in their own eyes, when it's meant to be a place where we come to explore instead of banter back and forth.
I call them the pontificating philosophers who talk all the time but never practice what they preach. They simply pontificate with philosophy, never knowing the real struggle, following ideology.
Right. What I encourage anyone to do out there that's listening, if you have something to say, then present something yourself. And stop talking shit about those that are actually doing something.
Yeah.
And join in with the evolution that's taking place.
Part of the crap talking comes from the nature of the internet, where no one has to be them authentic selves or behind a computer. So, Seth,
because nobody's held accountable.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's held accountable in this sort of realm that we are dancing in, so to speak.
So
when we allow ourselves to be accountable to one another, then growth can occur with spiritual maturity.
Sure, spiritual maturity is the object which everyone wishes to have, but never understands how to achieve it, let alone to integrate it into the adult you. Because so many programs come into us at such a young age that we don't have a clue of how to undo them. So
it takes time, and broadcasts like this do trigger people out. I'm glad it does.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's meant for. And then, we're just going to go get thrown into a feedback loop with that and miss what was just said over the last hour. That's the thing. So I feel that everything's going to the next level, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Outstanding. So we're going to take our first caller. I want everyone in the call room to understand this is for asking questions about the interview. If you're asking for a reading, you'll have to wait till Tuesdays, the next show. Please, this is asking questions about the material. First caller, Jackie from Queensland, Australia. Are you there?
Hi, Andrew. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Jackie. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, Andrew. Thank you. That was an awesome interview. Thank you both so much. Been listening to you both for quite a long time. You may recall, Andrew, Santo and I have spoken to you quite a few times over the years.
I do remember.
What I'm tuning into as far as a question at the moment goes, you might remember just the other day, Santo had a big conversation with you about his Father's Day experience, shall we say?
Yep.
What I was tuning into on that day energetically was a multi, and you probably got this from Santo, was a multi-generational Black Widow entity, shall I say.
Yep.
Female, but not feminine, but powerful in and of itself. And I guess my question is, in terms of helping the wide audience here today, some strengthening exercises or suggestions to all the listeners. It's rattled me for a few days. I held my ground, shall we say, at the time, and didn't, although felt some triggering, didn't sort of throw any hand grenades in the general direction myself. But always you've got to come from within to without and choose to stand your ground / walk away, and it's always difficult to deal with those situations in your personal family life. So any, I guess, advice for anyone would be particularly pertinent given the times that we're in. Thanks.
All right. Outstanding questions. Just so I'll give a context. Last week, her husband Santo called in and talked about a situation where the daughter had a meltdown and it was a full-on ancestral haunting going on. And it was very shocking to the scenario. And what she's asking is for a way to fortify the energies after this massive ancestral explosion and haunting. And both Sethikus and I have different ways of fortifying the reality. Because the reality, in my perception, is a tear that is creating tears of emotion and not compassion for the ancestral explosion there needs to be a form of ancestral clearing of the negative webs. There are certain ancestral frequencies that use and abuse our vagus nerve, which allows a form of precognition. So you have an entity such as the daughter, who's in extreme in emotions, where the vagus nerve goes active and connects to an ancient self that did not like Santo or you or the entire environment that they were in, and it went through time-space, through the vagus nerve, and was translated into this multidimensional karmic ancestral meltdown, much like a nuclear reactor on a very ancestral scale. You are suffering from fallout and radiation. And this is what you must reject in your vagus nerve, in your part of your precognition and your preeminent skills. The skills you've earned and learned over many years have this karmic nuclear waste within them. So it is a cleansing and purifying of your sensation organs, mind, body, and spirit included. A complete and total rejection of the previous frequency of time, done in a ceremonial format where the two of you pull this energy out of your aura, pull this energy off your skin and flesh, reach deep into each other's body, and remove as a signature frequency. This can be ritualized and ceremonialized. One suggestion I say is when you are pulling energy from with each other is grab a bottle of alcohol, clear alcohol, the highest volume of alcohol content that is not rubbing alcohol, actually brewed spirits, put it in a spray bottle, and you spray it over the front and the arms and the sides, and you do this pulling action while the other is describing getting that energy out of your field, because it is from another point of space-time, acting as a lineage curse, creating a karmic meltdown that has negatively created tears within your Ansanto and hers field. And your goal by removing this is to send it back to its original point in space-time so it has no potency and presence and power in your space. Okay? Those are words that require intention, that require belief, that require sacred discipline. So for the audience that are here and listening now, both Santo and his wife are quite experienced in multidimensionality. And because they asked this question, it was connected to another show, I want to give Seth a chance of how he would respond when somebody's having an ancestral karmic meltdown on a Father's Day, completely abusing everyone in their scenario.
Well, you mentioned the vagus nerve.
Yep.
Okay. And this is where a lot of the programming is embedded within our system, specifically with the Jehovah's Seals. And that's a lot to get into. That's a total other segment. But the vagus nerve runs from the bottom of the left foot up into the heart and then up into the head. And so getting into the idea of having implants, holographic inserts, seals, blockages, this is a major part of where they are programming a lot of the unconscious hooks that they have basically used to cut us off from the memories and knowledge within our blood codes. That's everything to do with the ancestors. And right now in 2017, specifically 2017, the blood codes are activating for all races and cultures on the planet. That's why all of this stuff is kicking out. This is why the storms are happening. This is why the earth is responding herself. Because not only is it the blood codes that are activating, it's the spirit and soul of the planet itself that's activating. So everybody's going to feel this whether they want to or not. And those that have been doing the inner work, those that have been gathering their own oil, are going to be able to ride the waves of what's actually unfolding now going into 2018, and then, of course, going into 2025. All right? But those that haven't been, those that don't know the seriousness, I'll say, of what's actually taking place, you're going to be raked through the coals whether you like it or not. And so all of the fear programming that is there is going to basically show itself through the mirror of the unconscious. And it's a matter of choice whether or not you're going to self-destruct or you're going to rise up.
It is in that rising up strength that all the seekers of knowledge must understand. That's that commitment and courage to heal yourself, grow within yourself, and not allow others to siphon and steal your goodwill and energy.
And, it's the self-murdered individuals, the vampires, the narcissists, the sociopaths that are really going to have a hard time now. The elites, all these dark factions, everything that they have created, they're going to have to face themselves. And so getting into the concept of co-creation, what are we going to choose now to co-create with one another? Because everything on the planet right fucking now is changing. Everything, right this second.
Everything but our global narrative, which is just a set of belief systems in place that stop us from believing something greater can happen because an individual can say no to an entire system at a global level and say, I will not exchange energy with you. I will not spiritually entangle with you until you deep pollute yourself. Individuals are what change the world. The global narrative is just something we adhere to each and every day. All right, so I want to move on to the next caller. Thank you so much for calling in. All right, next caller that's got a question for Seth and myself. Caller from Missouri, are you there?
We're here.
Hello, what is your name?
Steve?
Hi, Steve. How you doing today?
We're doing well. How are we doing, Andrew?
Doing great today. What questions do you have for Seth and myself?
Mostly not really. Much of nothing. I was just intrigued and interested at the whole conversation and everything about the weather and everything that is going on at the moment. Go back with hurricanes. Basically, I think you're describing them as time travel rivets, or is
Yes.
that how you were explaining them?
Yeah, they are rifts in space and time. There's thousands of individual spatial portals that are transporting things through time. And some eras of
Correct.
time where beings had much denser light, so they can come here and live 1 or 2 seconds of a super dense light being, and it's like many millions of years living here. It is balancing the karmas that were abused during time travel as an erasure of original species, or time travel as a reality-altering weapon, in which billions of other sentient beings, separate of the big battles that were going on between the Star Brothers and Sisters, who were also affected by negative weapon-based systems, who lost their individual experience during the uncreational events that were then forced into repeating loop scenarios. These storms are resolving the repeating loop scenarios, and these storms are creating trillions upon trillions of watts of electricity that is going over an entire coral sea that is in an ocean of salinity, that is a giant battery, that is charging the continental area, that is re-imprinting fresh water that has been exposed to the highest layers of electromagnetic sun frequency, because thunderclouds go to 60, 70,000 feet. And thus the hollow pressure in a system, which is creating an imprint upon the area, which is literally bathing the entire area in a complete regeneration of frequency at the programmed water level. That is what these storms are doing.
Yeah, so then, like you were saying before, I can go on the internet and, I mean, people talking about it's self-controlled, or it's a weather machine, or someone, and what you mentioned earlier, that obviously they're trying to control it and they're not in control. And
it's the law of diminishing returns. The more that they put into it, the more that it hits them back, boomerangs back upon themselves in ways they cannot control more. In the law of diminishing returns, they would require tremendous amounts of energy to change it. And what I actually said in those weather interviews is that its highest potential is to go up the East Coast. And I said the other potentials is it takes a full-on hit, meaning the system is allowing the hit to take place, giving up its ghosts and negative karmas in those particular areas. And Florida, Ponce de Leon, all the other super negative things that were done to the entire Indians of that area is being wiped and washed away, and whole new frequencies of ancestral energies are being resolved. Thanks for the question. We're going to move on to the next caller. All right, next caller that has a question for Sethikus and myself. La Jolla area, are you there?
Yes.
How you doing today? What's your name?
Yvonne?
Hi, Yvonne. What questions do you have to me and Sethikus?
I have a question regarding, it's very difficult to have a conversation with unenlightened people. And especially family. I get beat up all the time. If I just say one thing, they sort of pounce on me. But basically, I have an issue with friends and family that don't like to hear other alternative views about what's going on, and I generally just get beat up.
Mm-hmm. So you want some advice?
I'll respond to that.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I'll respond to that. Here's the thing with truth. Truth will always go through 3 phases. Okay.
Okay.
First, it will be rejected. Second, it will be violently opposed.
Okay.
And then third, it will become self-evident with the individual once they, realize these things for themselves. Everything that has come to me, I'll say, was not forced upon me by anyone. This came from within myself. And the same thing happens with all of us. We get excited. We're like, oh my God, the veils are being peeled back. And then it's like you want to run out and share these things with other people, but it hasn't been actualized within them. That spark, that I was talking about with the Fool card in the tarot deck, which represents that soul spark that you need to become initiated onto the path, so to speak, onto this pathwork. So it's going to cause a separation to take place, and it happened with me. I had everything stripped from me, all my friends, my family, everything. You know what I'm saying? I went through years of basically having to be alone. But the secret with this process is that when it unfolds, it's all designed to literally put you in the position to find out who you really are and remember who you really are and go through the process of healing and cleansing and purging that's necessary for you then to be able to, in the future, go out with wisdom, because you don't cast pearls to swine, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Because when you do, like it says, and again, certain writings aren't, I will not attribute to Christianity because that shit was stolen. Okay? This is ancient eternal teaching. When you cast pearls to swine, what happens? They trample them under their feet, and then they turn to tear you into pieces.
Yes,
and so we must be right. And so we must be wise with our intention. This is a very personal, subjective thing that happens to an individual. Again, this isn't like a mass group, movement, hive mind. We're all one, going in the same direction. Each and every single one of us are on a very, very unique journey at the same time within the reality field on a level of multiplicity. The collective consciousness layer, I'll say, within the chakra system, which is everything to do with the construct of the perimeter of the chakras, the collective consciousness level is the absolute most important to the dark priesthood. They know if they can control the collective unconscious, which is what we see going on with all the bullshit in the world, then they can essentially position themselves as the gods, which they have for eons. But the hour that we are in now and everything that's coming forth, as far as the sacred teaching that I'm presenting, completely shatters that paradigm and puts the individual in a place of being totally sovereign. But you're going to have to go through the initiation process, which all of that with your family, your friends, whoever, it's going to happen. Okay. It's going to happen because when truth speaks and someone isn't ready, they're going to automatically gnash their teeth because that what you're speaking is coming up against the programming within these individuals. This is why, though, and so I want to empower you and encourage you.
Thank you.
To keep going and stay focused on what you're doing, and don't worry about what they say or do, because if you do, then you're going to get sucked back into the old patterns and things that you're working to come out of yourself.
Just ban.
You can't save anybody, okay? And it's a hard lesson. It's a hard lesson, but it's necessary for the path work that we're talking about.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's a boost because I tell you, I just got beat up so badly yesterday. I just been crying half the day. I can't believe that somebody with my own son would treat me like that. And and I didn't say much. I just made a few comments, but then I got ripped in shreds. And I just sat there dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. So I guess I'm not allowed to say anything.
No, you are. You can say whatever you feel, but always remember you create what you speak.
Right.
This is another occult secret, and this is another reason why the cause and effect law, cosmic law, is in operation as well. Because if you just get out there and you just start speaking whatever without any real proper knowledge or wisdom, you're not going to know how to navigate the waters when the storms come, right? And that's everything that's going on right now. Everything's getting kicked out. Everything's coming to the surface. People are getting triggered out.
Okay.
And then projecting their own unconscious fears, into the situation because, fear of the unknown, fear of death, fear of not surviving, fear of non-existence. And when someone is presented with the truth, it can be very terrifying. You're either going to be raked through the coals with it, or you're gonna choose to make a ritual. And I encourage people to come onto my channel and check out the video that I specifically made called "Drawing the Circle of the Magician."
Okay.
This is protocol when it comes to the occult specifically. Because if you're not drawing your circle, then you're going to be getting hit with all these, flaming arrows, so to speak.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Our previous caller also had such a similar to your scenario, where the atomic meltdown. And I think in your scenario, no matter what truth you try to provide, it is not respected. And part of what Seth is saying in the occults is you got to put up your powers. You got to own your energy and know who not to waste time on.
Okay.
Okay? It is a bit of knowingness when to try and when not to. We are not our brother's keepers, and if they don't want to hear truth, then let that be their truth and move on. And yes, it's hard to live in an environment where they demand a conformity that doesn't allow anything else in, but you can create anything outside of that reality, beyond them. And there are soul family members and brothers and sisters out there waiting for you to own your power with enough energy to say, I'm no longer investing in those people who don't give a rat's ass about anything else in this world, who choose to be dumbed down and asleep. The albatross around our species' necks. So it's stopping the wholeness of growth.
Yes.
Thank you so much for calling in. We're going to move on to our next caller.
You're
welcome.
Thank you.
Next caller is from Norfolk, Virginia area.
Norfolk, Virginia. Are you there?
Yes.
Hi, what is your name?
Valerie.
Hi, Valerie. What questions do you have for Seth and I today?
Hi. Yeah. Speaking about the storms, and when I think it was Seth that said these aren't man-made heart storms. This is really Mother Earth, Gaia, coming into her spirit. And is that? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, both of us essentially are saying
Yes.
the same thing. Go ahead, Seth. Give your point of view, and we're gonna go and riff on this one.
Yeah, I did say that, and it is nature herself.
Okay.
Not just the storms that are going on, but everything else.
Yeah, everything. All of that, all of a sudden, is just hitting the planet. Is that designed to shake those that are unawake and aware up, or is it true that nothing is going? I don't know if I misunderstood you, Andrew. Is when you say nothing is going to change, like on the I don't even know what September 23rd is all about, but September 23rd or the money systems or any of the systems. If that's the case, if nothing's going to change, and what is the point of all of us waking up in the first place or taking our power back?
It's so that things can change, so that you can take action to do that. Me and Andrew are only, two individuals.
No,
You're one individual. There's another individual out there, other people that are listening. What are we going to do? What are you going to choose? Going back to what was spoken about before, there are certain things that we cannot control. You cannot control other people.
No.
You cannot become the force, evolution type of individual that goes out there and evangelizes, and then, you're going to burn everybody at the stake if they don't believe in what you believe in.
Yeah, no.
Okay. This all comes back to a personal gnosis. This all comes back to a personal practice. And then, of course, tapping into the gifts, skills, talents, and abilities that you have to create something that is going to make the reality, that's going to make the reality field a better place. And just imagine now if everybody did that, instead of running around in fear. Oh God, we're all going to die. No, this is our opportunity to catch and ride the waves of the storm instead of being pulled into an undertow, into the same feedback loops that we've been in for the last 26,000 fucking years.
Exactly.
It's done. It's over. It's just a matter of whether or not we're going to catch it, and then, of course, what is our intention. And healing and cleansing and purging is the most important aspect to this, because if you don't go through that process, you're not going to actually know what's there within your courts of access. Because who you think you are isn't really who you are. It's what you've been conditioned to believe you are, but you know deep down inside there's something more. What is that voice? What is that scream within the blood that we are all hearing? Every tribe, race, and culture on the planet, not just the tribes, race, and cultures on the planet, but everything on a multidimensional level and cosmic level. Every race and faction out there is hearing what we are talking about right now. So it's a matter of choice. What are we going to choose?
And I agree.
You're not always in control of the storms that come in life, but it is a question of whether or not your foundation is truth or a lie. If it's a lie, you're going to crumble. If your foundation is truth, then you'll be able to stand the storm, any storm, even these hurricanes that are going on right now. So it is a great alchemical display, like Andrew was saying in the segment, with the Earth herself, who is going through an alchemical change right now, and it's a reflection of what's within us. So all this crazy stuff's going to come to the surface. It has to, but it doesn't have to become another feedback loop where we choose to be, pulled into the undertow again. Like I said, go ahead.
Will they be removed, or they, when I say they, those that are in control of the money, is that's all up to us individually, like you're saying, that's what you're speaking of?
I don't know, and I can only speak for myself. Yeah. I can't speak for Andrew or you or anybody. I know how I live, and what I choose is not to be a slave, and I'm not.
What I can add to that topic is money, domination, control, government, politics, all the system of distraction will be made irrelevant to our greater changes. We will make them irrelevant, for they are finite creations and we are infinite. They cannot stand the passage of time and be proven infinite. They are finite and will crumble to dust and be forgotten to the eras of light, like billions of other hierarchical species who thought they were the only one.
Right, but one must also remember that all of these systems that they have built are designed to collapse in on themselves.
That's right.
Okay? And because, trust me, they got their counterfeit lined up for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this is about, being 20 steps ahead of the game. This isn't checkers. This is chess. This is cosmic chess. They give you a little bit of what you think you want, make you do all the hard work, and basically triangulate in on your position, and then you're done. It's going to take wisdom and proper knowledge with everything, because transfers of power are taking place with the factions that I have talked about. And so if we don't catch it, then they're going to get their timeline. And they probably will, because there are people here and within this reality field that are allowing this to take place. And that's the thing. They're gonna have to eat their cake that they make. There's talk out there about removal of the chakra system. And I have to address this because it's, for one, it's complete bullshit. Two, it's a part of the crystalline Syrian B agenda to basically seal in the infection and then key you into their crystalline AI technology. And when one goes through the process of this, they don't realize it's actually happening. All they're concerned about is the bliss and the feeling of not having to deal with anything that's really going on. They just want to skip all that. They want to skip the initiation. They want to skip actually having to do the work. And it's work. It's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. You will be tested thoroughly by the higher force itself. That's what we're here to do. This is why we incarnated. It's the school of hard knocks. Right? Yes. Right, Andrew?
That's right. You get your PhD.
Right. This is where everyone has incarnated to graduate. Okay, and some of us And some of us are already graduates here assisting the process for those that are ready.
Yeah, we're working on our double PhD.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful for both of you. I did think that was crazy when I first heard that they wanted to remove their chakras. I couldn't understand the logic. I stopped listening to that. That was a few years ago. I guess I heard that. But when, oh goodness, what was I just going to say about energy? To not give them energy, but to be, and I know it's a fine line, and I know it's individual too, but do you have any tips on how to be here but not of here? Like when you said you're not a slave anymore, and Andrew has all those wonderful contract resolution things on his website, and I'm trying to get through them. It's taking me time. It seems like it's such a convoluted process for us to find our way out, but they are just all over the place. And it's just, you constantly are in this battle, you know? And I guess it just gets exhausting. I don't want to give up. I'm not going to ever give up. I'd die first, but fighting through it is, it's like fighting through in the mud, you know? Always.
Right.
First
I don't know
part,
if you have any tips on...
First part is choose no sides. For as soon as you have chosen a side that isn't you and you alone as the authentic, you've already lost. This is the world of charge and polarity and compartmentalization. We are taking charge away, polarity away, and taking the compartments away and showing we are all our own unique signature frequency that has our own individual connect to our source prime creator. And that is the acknowledgement of the greater transcending, transmutating, alchemical being of the now. Recognizing that in this moment of now, you have an infinite set of choices, to make an infinite set of course adjustments, to have an infinite point of view. When you come from the authentic self with knowingness of your connection to source, no matter what other people say or do, it shall not weaponize you or your internal processes to choose sides in this world of charge and polarity. Find out how to enforce your moral code so that it doesn't scale or move to the side when somebody steps in your environment and says, it's my way or no way. Be empowered and potent in presence in your body. Learn the coping skills of denial of services to energy vampires. Learn how to use your pheromones and the law of attraction and repulsion to make your reality manifest what it is that you do through conscious application of your intent with heart space. Become ritual, but do not get lost in the ceremony. Understand ceremonies, but do not get lost in the ritual. Know there are old shells that must often be let go through a process of observance of the self. When you choose to heal, it is the commitment to heal and the courage that it takes to follow through, process, and integrate. Healing is an experience, not an event. Healing is a process, not an event. And when we take those deeper terminologies in and we apply it, we get to learn why the occult has been from us for so many centuries. For if we had known it, we would not be in this upside down and inside out world.
Okay, that makes a lot.
Caller, thank you so much. We're going to take one more caller and then we're going to have to end the show. All right, last caller of the night.
Last caller is James from the Glendale area.
James from Glendale, California. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Hi, James. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I can't believe I got through. That wheel of callers is no joke, man.
You made it. So what questions do you have for me and Seth?
Well, I heard you a while back talk about fake.
Fuck you right in the pussy. Fuck you right in the pussy. Fuck you right in the pussy.
That was not me.
No, that's the troll guy again.
Oh, that's funny.
Conference locked.
So that particular person has a hard-on for interrupting shows. He doesn't do this show. He does it to other shows. Anywhere he can get his voice heard, he does it and does it over and over again. He's been banned from hundreds of sites.
Harking back to the golden age of public access television a bit.
But okay. Anyways, you were saying, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, you didn't discuss this in the interview, and if it's off topic, I can ask a different question. It's about
Go
fake
ahead.
Reiki, and how does one discern? Because I've been practicing a particular system called Reiki Tumo since 2010, and
Does it attract?
it
Does it track back in lineage to the Asui, Takata, or Hayashi method? Is there
yeah, it
actual lineage
incorporates
trackage?
bits of Usui, but with
Then
some
the
subtle
answer is no.
differences.
If in Reiki 2, you are not taught how to actually spin forward and backwards in time, then you aren't learning Reiki, you're learning a bastardization of it. That's the determination.
It's called Reiki Tumo. Tumo meaning
Never heard of it.
Kundalini.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, this Indonesian
Right.
computer scientist had an out of body experience. He had Kundalini syndrome and was basically slowly dying. And this
Right.
entity named Baba G taught him this system, and it works beautifully for me. But it's like, how
All
can
right, check? Okay, I'm going to answer this, man. There's a difference between Kundalini and the Ruach.
Yes.
Okay, Kundalini goes up your spine, man. It's a very potent sexual energy, right? And this is
system? You get a Kundalini awakening.
Right. Just hear me out. Hear me out real quick, man.
Sorry.
It's very potent with that specific energy. This is when people get into tantra. This is when people get into the concept of sacred sexuality. I'm a level 1 Nigong Ruach practitioner. Okay, and everything to do with Reiki, with Qigong, all of it goes back to Nigong. Nigong is when the individual learns the keys of self-mastery to be able to move energy with the mind. Qigong is specifically with breathing. Reiki, there's all these different techniques. I'm actually certified in Reiki myself. Okay? But for me personally, it all goes back to the first cosmic law. Everything in the occult. All these healing abilities, all these teachings, everything. It all goes back to the state of consciousness of the individual. And you got Reiki healers out there. You can go get certified in Reiki online, man, in a week. That's not any sort of initiation. This takes years. This takes decades to master. Okay? And if somebody is doing it and they're sick in the bed and dying, and they got all sorts of blocks in their fucking system because of that Kundalini charge. It's very dangerous, actually, because people don't know the difference. And then, of course, it's promoted, in the spiritual communities that are out there doing whatever they're doing, and people wonder why they're suffering these ailments and stuff like that too, because they're not actually going through the real biospiritual regenesis. This is what we are offering with the Blue Flame Healing Arts and Occult Science. And again, it comes back to a personal gnosis, because what works for one person might not work for another person, depending on your disposition, psychologically, then getting into the system mechanics of your body, your bloodlines, your ancestors, everything. This is why it's happening, as far as I'm concerned. What do you think, Andrew?
Well, the fake systems out there are from people who never became masters themselves, that believed in this day and age that they could make a buck by writing a book and teaching a class. I started taking Reiki in 2002, became a master by 2003, had done over 700 patients by 2004, had done 1,700 patients by 2005, to working well over 5,000 patients. I mastered myself through patients. And when I taught Reiki to nurses that were at bird victim units, cancer units, hospice wards, it took a year to go from Reiki 1 to Reiki 2, and I did not break my rules because I followed my tradition that I was taught under. I learned Goshen scanning as well as Karuna Reiki, which was from a direct lineage. Now, so many systems completely miss the integrative teachings of what it means to be a practitioner. Reiki 3, which is taught over and over and over again, was never meant to be taught as a mass initiation system. It was only for those who wanted to follow psychic surgery and the deep understandings and requirements that it took of perspective and the hundreds of clients that would be under your hands as part of a process of learning the commonalities of what healing is. You are a facilitator. Now I will make a bold statement here. Okay? Weed doesn't kill people. Kundalini can. And I have met dozens and dozens of practitioners who have fucked people up by activating their Kundalini, who was not ready for it. That made impotent people, literally impotent, because you did not know what you were facilitating, because there were entities there and you were never trained about how to clear the entities in the lineage of the Kundalini itself. I'm not bashing this individual teacher because I don't know them. What I'm saying in general, from a society that thinks you can become a master in a month, no, you can't. Until you've had 250 patients under your hands, you are a trivial peon of a healer. And that may be insulting to people, but until you've had a cancer patient die and you believed your faith was going to do it, but you have to go through the process of accepting, until you've had a burn victim unit under your hand and a person scream, until you've seen a soldier with their arm cut off and you're getting rid of their fake limb syndrome, until you have experienced what it is getting rid of someone that has fibromyalgia, until you've had 100 different cases, you are a practitioner. And to become a master means you have seen the entire gambit of how people screw themselves up mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially. For all that is within the energy. For wherever there is cancer, there is rage. For wherever there is cancer, there's an unresolved spiritual issue within the frequency that is giving a termination date. In each and every one of those termination dates can be stopped and altered by energy alone through the facilitation process of opening the proper corridors in the governing vessel, not the Kundalini process. For it'll be in the governing and the conception vessel that you bring the macro and microcosmic order back into balance, which is Qigong. An understanding of the flow of the universe. Reiki's roots are in those processes. Master Usui, that was the first practitioner, was a doctor in the 1900s in Japan who traveled all around India and the Orient, learning from the ancient masters what? Symbology, sigilology, and the understanding of flow. Each Reiki symbol is like a gear in a car. When used in the right way, in the energy superhighway of the body, you can move vast sums of energy or discover why vast sums of energy won't be stored in certain places. That requires experience. That requires time, effort, and energy to study. Because you have one system doesn't mean you only have one system. You have an infinite amount of systems out there that you should be practicing and learning. No one should be monomodality. You should have hundreds of modalities so you could draw upon a particular skill or style from one of those that you've mastered to fit that healing in the moment. That's my impassioned impressions of that. Because I have had so many people come to me on those live shows, I'm a Reiki this, I'm a Reiki that, and I go, were you taught how to send treatments forward and backwards in time? No, then it's fake Reiki. Simple. It's fake Reiki.
I got that part at least.
Yeah. It's not Reiki. It's something else.
Really?
Yeah.
If sending it backwards and forwards through time?
That is the absolute key to understanding Reiki. If you are not taught that, you are not taught Reiki.
Oh, right. I'm saying that I was taught that.
Okay. So that's in Reiki too. Did they teach you psychic surgery as ART in 3, not as a mastership tuition process? Did you have 150
but
patients?
Just to be clear, the Kundalini part, when you are taught within the system, we do not do that on people. It's done to you just to. It's right, one of the tools that you can use to kind of further clear yourself out. Right, and,
so what that is
help your spiritual growth.
What that is the blue, the blue frame breath, the activation of the symbols that is being put in. Somebody has altered that initiation frequency when you are taken into a master's level. See, that's not Reiki. That's someone that's changing from the original traditions. He should have just given it his own name and not called it Reiki. The specifics of your question is Reiki. Dr. Usui created it. Dr. Hayasha and Dr. Teakata are the only 3 that taught it to lineages of people who would honor it as a tradition of Reiki. Universal flow.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with all of that. It does. I mean, I've been doing it since 2010, and it's helped me immeasurably.
And I'm not
And
judging what it is or do. The nature of the question. You see, the other side of Reiki is in attuning people. So attunements itself can be their own healing, and he is multiplying and modifying the attunement process. How long was he a master before he made his system? Do you know that?
I do. Let's see. So I want to say a couple decades, maybe, if my memory is correct.
Okay, so he was around a while. So ultimately,
Yeah.
why did he call it Reiki and not his own process?
Well, it's called Reiki Tumo, and the Tumo part is Sanskrit for Kundalini. It just means that in level 2 of Reiki Tumo, you get a Kundalini awakening so that you can then do a Tumo meditation on yourself just to help with your spiritual process.
I get it. You just gave it away.
But there's
Kundalini activation.
There's a difference between Kundalini and Ruach.
Yes. Big. Giant. There's a mistake in his philosophy. Big.
That was a mistake for him to include that.
Well, maybe he wasn't taught that. That's the thing, man.
Yeah.
See, there are people out there with limited knowledge. And this is why the wisdom councils are necessary.
Right.
And this is also why accountability is necessary. Because you can't just run out there and start doing this sort of stuff and not have gone through the initiations that one needs to be able to reach that level. And if anybody out there thinks that they have arrived and they act like they have the all truth, especially with everything we're talking about in context, you need to run from those people.
Yep.
Because they don't have it all.
They don't.
Because everything that we're working to do, specifically with the Blue Flame Healing Arts and occult science, goes back to the first fucking cosmic law. Like I'm talking about, if you are not the master of your own thought and emotion first, and then you start trying to do this stuff, you're going to get all the mess that unfolds with it.
In a different form of entanglement. So
this is what I am teaching my students. You do not. I don't even teach them magic or get into the higher occult sciences until they've reached a certain level of mastery with their own psychological blueprints. If you don't know what your psychological blueprint is, when the certain things happen, you're not going to know what to do or why you're reacting a certain way to it. Especially if somebody has a Kundalini awakening.
Is it possible that there's different forms of Kundalini awakening? Because in this particular system, it was really gentle, and the whole idea, the philosophical.
Let me insert.
Yeah, I'm not dismissing Kundalini. Kundalini is an energy stream. But it's not the only one. And if directed right, then yes, it can be used. But it is a very potent energy, and you have to be at a certain level to be able to wield it. If you're not at that level, then it's going to rip through your system like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. Let me add something else in there. So as soon as a practitioner...
It's a very, very powerful energy. The Ruach is actually even more potent.
Right. So as soon as someone activates a Kundalini as a facilitatorship, you have turned on an energy that is attracting, harvesting entities. Now, you were probably not taught that in your class, were you? And that is where everything goes wrong. That when a Kundalini is activated, you have to have a protected state of frequency because haunting is coming. You are a giant energy being waiting to be sucked and harvested on.
Right, and this is why I teach drawing the circle of the magician.
Right, you will be haunted.
It's so important.
I cannot tell you how many people from Tantra that I have sexual dehaunting from. Because they think they're raising their Kundalini and opening up to the sexual process of wonderment, and no, they just fucked a ghost. Okay? Literally. And that could be 30 years of life force they just had lost. 30 years of life force.
What if you're just it's completely surrendering to source when you channel
How do you
Reiki
know
and
you're
do your
completely
Kundalini meditations. Is there a
how
protection there? Or?
How do you know you're completely connecting to source if you've been hijacked at the dream world level?
Exactly. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I don't.
You don't.
I can only feel what's in my body and what my body's telling me. And
that's why the occult sciences, the contract revocations, all of those teachings are there of self-discernment, know thyself. That's the key. Self-discipline of knowing the self. That's ultimately what's going to be your journey. We cannot judge experiences good or bad, but we can say what they are or aren't, without charge and polarity behind them. I thank you for asking this question. You did give a great frequency so that both Seth and I can give great answers back. Keep practicing what you're doing, but begin to ask questions. What else can I do to make it my modality where I don't have to use the word Reiki? And say, maybe it's time for me to personally expand and explore and add new things to this, like the a la carte system, so you can begin mastering the now skills. Learn new protective styles. Incorporate them into your healing. Observe things in the past and watch how things unfold.
Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling in. All right.
Thank you, Seth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Peace out, man.
You're welcome.
Seth, this has been an outstanding time. Answering all these questions are fun. Remind people how they can get a hold of you.
If anybody wants to get a hold of me, send me an email at blackearthproductions@hotmail.com. I would encourage everybody out there, if they want to know more about what we're doing with the Blue Flame Healing Arts and the Occult Science, go on to the Black Earth Productions website. And it's blackearthproductions with a Z at the end.com. Go ahead and check out the services page. Also, I encourage everybody to check out our blog page called Apothekia. And my beloved just put out a new blog called The New Mythos, and is in alignment with synchronistic trajectory, basically with everything that we've been talking about the last few days on this live stream. It's happening now, everything that we've gotten into and with what's unfolding. So, yeah, again, it's blackearthproductions@hotmail.com. Also the website at blackearthproductions.com.
Thank you, Seth. And if those are interested in coming to my live event, October 5th through the 8th, you can go under the button below us and click I want to enroll. You'll get 2 free tickets to come to the event, the Equinox and the Solstice course, as well as the Alchemy series, and all for a $9.97 to get the 6-week course. Yeah, I'm selling, because that's how we stay in business. Masters putting signs up saying open for business, that those that want to go. October 5th through the 8th. I'll see you live in Seattle. Welcome. We'll be ready for the next show. All right, everyone. See you next time.